The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. Today is Monday. It's September 16th and it is 2024. So if you're tuning in to watch us right now, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and about a dozen other sites. I am Shannon Penrod. I'm a very proud pony, a parent of a neurodiverse individual, and thrilled to be with you guys this morning. Boy, we got a show for you. Today. It's going to be really exciting. For the first time, I can't believe this, like how long have we been doing this? And for the first time ever, we're welcoming Stan Kurtz to the show today. He's been a longtime friend and somebody in the autism community that has been a mover and shaker. We're going to tell you all about him a little bit later on, but he's going to be talking about some of the stuff that he's been working on, which is very interesting. My friends, very, very interesting. So he's going to be joining us in just a little while. You won't want to miss that. I want to say to you, thank you to everybody for all of your wonderful birthday messages. It was my birthday yesterday, and I got messages from so many of you, and it was what a lovely thing. I have to say, I have this, love and not hate, but love and relationship sometimes with Facebook. It can be a lot, but it is a remarkable thing on your birthday, and to see all these lovely people that I don't necessarily get to talk to on a regular basis and to go, oh, I know that person because, and for some of you it was like, oh, I wonder how their child is doing. And to hear from childhood friends and friends from high school and college and graduate school and other phases of my life, just it's like a this is your life moment. So, and I also want to say a special shout out to all of my friends that I work with. My colleagues are the most amazing people, and I still didn't get it posted, but I swear I'm going to do it today on Facebook. The amazing birthday thing that they put together for me last week here and at Card, and the amazing Chris Desmond, the things that he's magic. Our producer here. He does incredible things. So, but thank you all so much. Also, a couple of things that we want to talk about. We are hard at work, man. We got so many plates we're spinning here. It's all good though. We're hard at work on the toy guide. I can't wait to share some of the things. We had some judges here the other day who were going through the toys, and they were just saying, this is a remarkable year, Shannon. You've got some remarkable stuff here. So I can't wait to share the award winners with you. It's only a couple of weeks away that we're going to be putting the toy guide out. It's mere moments, But before that, we have the All Ghouls Gala coming up. The All Ghouls Gala is the big fundraiser every year for Autism Care Today. That's the charity that Dr. Grant Bichet founded to help families on their journey with the kinds of things that they need help with. And think about yourself and your family and what do you need, right? It's not a one size fits all. Don't we say that all the time? And so some of you might need safety equipment, and some of you need help with copays, and some of you need assistive technology, and some of you need money towards an assistance dog, and some of you need money so that your child can go to this amazing program that you have found that has a 3-week camp, right, that you just can't afford. So we all need different things, and I love that about ACT Today. It doesn't say, okay, this is what we're giving you. It says, what do you need? There is an open grant phase right now. If you go to act-today.org and click on the grants tab, you will be able to fill out the application. It's only open until October 10th or 8th. I'm not sure the date. Check the date for yourself. Make sure you get your grant application in before that. But one of the ways that there is money to be able to pay for these grants is that we do fundraising. So All Ghouls Gala is our biggest fundraiser of the year. It is a massive Halloween party at a very exclusive Woodland Hills residence that's gorgeous to die for. And just fun. You buy a ticket. The ticket is redonkulously inexpensive. If you go to anything in Hollywood, if you're going to go out for an evening anywhere in Los Angeles, with friends, if you were going to be paying for alcohol and food, it would certainly cost you more than the ticket price. The ticket price is $125. That gets you in the door, and it's amazing gourmet food, an open bar all night long, plus a DJ, plus a dance floor, plus a whole bunch of other things. Now, we encourage you to bring your credit card because we have other things that are going to be happening that you might want to participate in at the event where you can donate even more money. But you don't have to do that. $125 gets you in the door, all the food and drink, and dance the night away. And there is a costume contest. It is costumes mandatory. But the tickets are on sale right now if you go to Eventbrite and you put in third annual All Ghouls Gala to search. It'll immediately pop up. We encourage you, if you're going to be here, buy a ticket. If you're not going to be here, and many of you can't get to Los Angeles the Saturday before Halloween, we understand that. But, you can still donate to Act Today, and there is no amount that's too small. If you go to their website and donate $5, that will go together with a whole bunch of other people's $5 and help someone to have an iPad, which will become their method of communicating with the world. My goodness, what a great thing to do. So we encourage you, please donate to Act Today. And if you really can't come and be in Los Angeles, and I want you to think about that. Could you? Because it'd be fun. If you really can't do it, we encourage you. You can buy a ticket for someone else, for another person to come. And if you specify and say, I would like for this to be a parent of somebody on the autism spectrum, or you could say to me, I would like this to be a young person on the spectrum. They have to be 21, but I know lots of people on the spectrum who would like to come, and you can scholarship them, pay $125. It is a 501c3, so your ticket and any amount that you donate is a tax deduction. For heaven's sake, does it get better than that? If you're going out to dinner, it's not a tax deduction. I'm just saying, it's a good time. I will be there. Dr. Graham Pichet will be there, as will a lot of celebrities and wonderful, wonderful people. I will be telling you more about that as the days go by. And we're also going to be honoring some people like we did last year. Last year's honorees were Joe Mantegna, Dr. Temple Grandin, and Areva Martin. Hello. We've got 3 amazing people, but I can't tell you yet. You could kill me and I can't tell you. There you go. We hope that you guys will join us. Don't forget, go check that out. Okay. I also wanted to say that our fabulous Chris Desmond, because we're live right now, he may have already done it. I don't know. I didn't see. No, he's putting them up now. Showing you all the different ways that you can tune in and watch the live show or the podcast show. Remember that we have a robust YouTube channel where we archive all of the shows that we do that are video and sound, but you can download the podcast audio only wherever you get your podcasts. It is a free download. We've been doing the show now. We're starting, I believe, our 15th year right now. So that's a long time. And there's this huge, huge archive that you can search and ask questions and see what answers have already been given by all kinds of experts over 15 years, 14 years, because we're starting the 15th year. But we know that most of you prefer to take us with you and do the audio only podcast. We love that. We love hearing how you like to listen. But there are ads that will play because it is a free download. You understand that it's not free for us to do the show, and it's not even free for you to download, right? But we make it free for you, and the way we defray the cost of that is by having advertisers. So isn't that wonderful that you get it for free and somebody else is paying for you to be able to download it for free? We hope that when you hear the advertisers play that you embrace that and go, look, these are the people who paid for me to listen to this. But some of you have said that you would prefer it if you could pay small amount so that you didn't have to listen to the advertising because you're running or something, and it stops your pace, whatever it is. If you want to do that, we've made it possible for you. It's $5 a month to get all of the podcasts that we do at Autism Network. That's Autism Live. That's Ask Dr. Doreen. That's Let's Talk Movies. That's Stories from the Spectrum. It's even Today's Hyperfixation, our newest podcast. So please, all you have to do is go to glow.fm/autismlive. It's $5 a month. And you will automatically, every time we do a new show, it will go into your account and you can listen at your leisure, and they will be ad-free. We are not trying to make money on that. We're just trying to even it out. So please, if that's you, do that. Otherwise, embrace the ads, right? I love that. Okay. I think I've talked about all the things that we need to talk to because we need to get to the jargon of the day so that we can get to our guest. But I do want you guys to know that the chat is open live if you guys want to be writing in at any point. We love interacting with those of you who are watching us live. I didn't say, too, I mentioned that I'm a pony, parent of a neurodiverse individual, but I want to take just a second to say that our entire mission here at the Autism Network is to provide information and inspiration, and that we want to provide that to that larger autism community, which starts with individuals who are themselves on the autism spectrum, right? Of course, they're the beating heart of our community, but we also include along with them everyone who loves individuals on the spectrum. That's really our North Star, is helping that whole community to get to information and inspiration. So we believe that together, si se puede, right? We can do it. We can help support the autism community and help people to be able to have opportunities and choices as they should. I know it's like a duh, right? But we're still having to explain things to people. I do want to say that on Wednesday, Moira Giammatteo is going to be with me. We're doing a special Let's Talk Movies where we're going to dissect everything that happened last night on the Emmys. So if you didn't get to see it yet, we're going to talk about it. We were going to do a show beforehand, and we were like, and I'm glad, because there's a lot of stuff that happened last night that I think absolutely has to do with that larger autism community. And we're going to talk about it with Moira, along with what were our favorite parts of the evening and which awards are we ready to throw our purses. But, spoiler alert, Jamie Lee Curtis the week before did get her Emmy. So nobody has to hold my purse. Nobody has to hold my earrings. I was ready to throw a hissy fit the size of Spain. I don't have to, because she got her Emmy, and I'm very happy about that. We can move on to other world problems. I was concerned that Jamie Lee Curtis was not going to get her Emmy, but the world is right in that respect, and we get to move on. Okay, I was ready to introduce Stan, and it's not time yet, but it's coming in about 6 minutes. So 7 maybe. Okay, so we like to do the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We like to give you a definition and then drill down on it a little bit more. Sometimes when we take these definitions from places that you might find them if you're Googling, and if there's things in the definition that are convoluted and that we wouldn't know without 7 letters after our name that stand for degrees that we don't even know what they are, I make fun of it. If they're not there, that's good, because more and more we're seeing better definitions. But the whole point of this is to be able to get a grasp, a gripster, as we like to say in my house, on what are we talking about and why does this have importance for anyone, but for us especially. My thing is, can it save us 5 minutes and $5 and maybe a little heartache? If it can, and it does, why wouldn't we be talking about it, right? So today we're going to talk about the Three Term Contingency. I know. Doesn't it sound like one of the shows that was up was the 3-planet solution or the 3-planet problem or whatever that was? No, we're not talking about that. 3 Term Contingency. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our actual definition, which comes to us today from ABA Applied Behavior Analysis Weebly. The 3-term contingency, also referred to as the ABCs of behavior, which is antecedent, behavior, and consequence, illustrates how behavior is elicited by the environment and how the consequences of behavior can affect its future occurrence. Okay, now if you already know what this means, you can get through this definition and go, yeah, no. But if you have no idea, my problem with this definition is you'd have to pick like 7 books and be on the internet for a half an hour searching terms to know what any of these things are. But let's start with saying that this is a big cornerstone in ABA, which is applied behavior analysis, which says we're going to look at behavior. This is a science that says I want to teach things to somebody, and so I'm going to look at behavior to be able to teach it. So let's start with that base of knowledge about why. Why is this even something that we care about? Because I don't know about you, I'm a former teacher and I love teaching. I just think teaching is one of the most powerful things that there is on the planet because it can affect change. If I can teach myself something, a skill to be able to do, then that skill, when I get good enough at it, it's mine, and I move through the world in a different place with something that I didn't have before, which can assist me, right? And as I learn and grow and get better at some things, I let go of other things that aren't serving me anymore. I can shed things that are no longer useful, right? And that is a basis for looking at life. By the way, this is what ABA looks at. How can we build skills to make somebody, help them to learn things that are more efficient so they can let go of things that are not as efficient? You're never letting go of yourself, right? I always use the example, if I ever get so excited that I learn to speak any new language, let's say that I learn to speak German, that becomes a new skill in my backpack that I have. I might, let go of a couple of things because, now I don't have to, if I'm speaking to a friend who only speaks German, I don't have to write cards to them to speak to them. That's less efficient. There's nothing wrong with writing on cards, but it's less efficient. I can let go of it and I can actually converse with them in German. What an exciting thing. Things get a little bit better because I can communicate with this person I care about. It doesn't change who I am. I don't become a different person because I now can speak German and I don't have to write on cards. It does not change who I am. I still tell jokes in the same way, but now I can tell them in German. So this is what I find exciting, when we can teach somebody something and they get to choose, this other skill no longer works for me, right? One of the basics of ABA. But then the logistics of it, how do you do it? Then we get to the three-term contingency. So let's move on to our working definition here and see if we can't really put this all together. This comes to us from behavioraltoday.com. The three-term contingency, often abbreviated as ABC, stands for antecedent, behavior, and consequence. It's a model used to analyze and understand the relationship between behavior and the environment. Okay. All right. So now we have a little bit better understanding of it, but really, do I really know how to use this in my life? So I always take out a piece of paper when we're talking about the three-term contingency, right? And by the way, they have apps that you can do this now on your phone. You don't have to have a piece of paper, but I like a visual. So I can take a piece of paper and I can fold it so that I got 3 columns now. And I can write ABC across the top. And now I can literally start to take ABC data on anything that I'm doing or somebody that I love, what they're doing. And A stands for the antecedent, right? B stands for behavior, and C stands for consequence. And everything you do, everything I do, falls into this ABC. So let's pick the thing that I always like to pick, is that every day at some point you turn on a light switch. You don't even think about it. It's just something that happens, right? But if we were to look at this in an ABC and say, okay, here's this behavior, you're turning on the light switch, what's the A? What's the antecedent? Antecedent is what happened before. So it's going to be different depending on the context of why you turn on the light switch. But let's say I came into the studio this morning and the first thing I did was I turned on a light switch. Why? What was the antecedent? What happened right before? Well, I came in the room and it was dark and I couldn't see. And we were going to get ready to do the show, and I turned on the light switch in the studio. So that's what happened before. I want to get busy, I want to get to work, and I couldn't see. It was too dark in here. So I turned on the light switch. So that's the behavior. I turned on the light switch, but the antecedent was I came in and I couldn't see. So now what's the consequence of me turning on the light switch? I flicked the light switch and the room was flooded with light. And my problem that I was having was that I couldn't see is now gone, right? And this is a behavior chain that I will do over and over and over again throughout the day. I will walk into my bathroom at home, and if I can't see, I will turn on the light switch, right? There are other reasons why you might want to turn on a light switch, right? It's not always the same. Sometimes it's that you want to wake somebody up, or sometimes it could be that you want to tick somebody off, right? There's a million reasons why to turn on a light switch, and ABC says, let's look at that. So any behavior that you have. So let's say your child's having a tantrum. And as a parent, you look at it and you go, well, my child is throwing things, right? What happened before? Why? It's not random. Your children don't just throw things. What happened before? And when we start to know what happened before, we start to understand a little bit about why. And we also need to look at the consequence, because sometimes you do something just for the consequence, right? But this is a roadmap for any behavior to start to ask why. Why? Why are we doing this behavior? How is it serving us? And once we start to do that, we realize, what does the person really care about? What do they really want? What are their needs? And then if we can teach them skills to get those needs met, then they will let go of behaviors that don't serve. If I can hold up a card that says juice on it, and you give me juice, then I don't have to throw a tantrum to get the juice. And what I love about this is that it starts to demystify it. If you ever are working with somebody and they say, I want you to take ABC data on when your child is tantruming, I know it sounds so dry to like fill this out and go, okay, well, they tantrumed and here's what happened before and here's what happened afterwards. But you will start to see trends of, okay, that's always happening at 2:00 in the afternoon. Why? It's not a mystery. There's a reason. And this helps us to know what's going on in the environment and what's going on in this real person. What do they need? What do they want? Can we help them to get it in a way that's more efficient for them? I get very excited about the ABC data. All right, now I've gone over. Hey, we're saying good morning to Autism Journey with Elijah, and we're saying good morning to Huma, who's writing to us from Pakistan. Okay, you guys, buckle up because we've got a really exciting guest for you this morning, and I'm late and I apologize. Stan Kurtz, and as I said before, we've known Stan for a really long time. He's an amazing person that's been in the autism community moving and shaking for a long time. He's an inventor, a patent holder, and a researcher for the last 19 years. He's been featured in 2 New York Times bestsellers and has been on the Larry King Live show on CNN and television shows like The Doctors. He was a member of the Autism Research Institute Science Think Tank and on the advisory board of the U.S. Autism and Asperger's Association, and a parent liaison to the autism community for the CEO of the American Academy of Pediatrics. I mean, come on. He and his son Ethan were featured on a television show called BattleBots. His son is currently ranked in the very tippy top percentage, 0.1% in the world in robotics. Today, Stan is running a research and healing center in Simi Valley, California, that helps people have seemingly impossible breakthroughs in health and wellness. His goal is to help every individual reach their undiscovered potential and to help families recover from stress, pain, and anxiety. I just want to read you one quote from an expert talking about some of Stan's work. He says, the striking effects of Stan's methylcobalamin research on EEG activity may represent a breakthrough not only in the understanding and treatment of ADHD, but in the understanding the molecular origins of human attention. And that's from Richard Deff, Dr. Richard Deff of molecular neuropharmacology. He's a professor of pharmacology at Northeastern University. Okay, so much to talk about, but I want to start with saying that Stan does a lot of things and he does them very quietly. So here we are, starting year 15, and we haven't had Stan on. But recently there was an article in a magazine that came out. It's written in Hebrew, so you're not going to want to run right out and get it. But it's created quite a bit of a buzz. So we've welcomed Stan to come here and talk. We're going to give lots of disclaimers through everything that we talk about. But I think it's worthwhile to have conversations with people about what are they doing, what are they finding. But Stan is amazing, and Stan has done a lot of things. But let's be very clear that Stan does not claim to be a doctor and is not a doctor. But Stan is an amazing human being. So let's welcome Stan Kurtz to the show. Stan, how are you?
I am happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're saying hi to Nicholas, too, who joined. So, Stan, so much to talk about. And I know you've got some slides that you're going to show us. But what do you want to talk about first?
Well, I mean, the slides tell the story, but basically, there's a lot of recent things that we've found that I think are really beneficial, and I love the idea of being able to share it here. Like you said, I haven't been very public, certainly not for a long time. So I think we've been talking about doing something for 16 years or something.
Something like that.
I'm here to just get started on that, I guess.
Okay.
I'm happy to be here, and thank you.
And so I said I'm going to say a bunch of disclaimers. I'm going to keep saying disclaimers. So the stuff that Stan is talking about, I want to make very sure that everybody knows we're not talking about anything that's medical. We're talking about natural things that you're doing at your center for healing. We're not talking about things that are FDA approved. Want to make sure that everybody knows that. And we're not talking about anything that's invasive. What else? I think those are disclaimers I can think of for now. I'll think of more as we go.
I think the other thing is that the word recovery is used and has been used in the past. And I think what I'd like to say is that everybody's on their own journey. And what I really focus on is just trying to help the person, the individual, be the best that they can. Yeah. And if that turns into something that has some sort of behavioral benefit, if that's something that happens to shift somebody on the spectrum in some way, it does, but it may. But I'm really focused on just getting everyone to be the healthiest they can be.
Okay. So shall we launch in? You're going to share your screen and you're going to show us some things and talk to us. And I'll ask questions and give all the disclaimers as we go through.
Perfect. Thank you for that. All right, so here we go. I'm looking. I'm not sure the slide is on your screen yet. There.
Now it's there.
Okay.
Yay.
Good job, Chris. Thank you. Okay. So to begin with, you mentioned the B12 spray. So back in 2006, I patented something that I had learned along the way, which was that methyl B12 used in the nose had a profound benefit to people as opposed to taking it orally or sublingually. And even some people that were doing the subcutaneous shots saw benefits in the spray that they didn't find in the shots. So rather than mom having the miner's flashlight on, this was a way to get methyl B12 in people. What's on the screen is a demonstration on the bottom of theta activity in the brain, which is slower waves. So it's 3.5 to 7.5 hertz or waves per second of energy going across the brain. On the left is Mike, who's in his 20s at the time, and he had ADHD symptoms, fatigue, anxiety, and stomach pain all at the same time. The one on the left, the drawing on the left shows the green activity is the normal compared to controls. Yellow is double the theta activity or slow waves in the front of his brain. That's a nose at the top. So this is a top-down view. And the red is 3 times the amount of theta activity slow waves in the front of the brain. So basically we have a brain here that's out of sync. And he was pretty substantial in his symptoms. And this was all videoed. So it's one of the 55 or so videos that are in our recoveries YouTube channel, which we'll give the link to in a bit. But it's stansrecoveries.com. For lack of better words, we're just making it simple for you to be able to find it. So after the spray, and almost immediately after the spray, within seconds, the theta activity, which is on the right, disappeared. And he became more normalized. And his symptoms became essentially lessened. So his energy came up, and his fatigue and anxiety went away, and he was feeling much better. And that's the study we used and that was a QEEG. This is electrical brain activity. We used that in the patent, and the patent was designed essentially to allow pharmacies to use this in the autism community as an inexpensive alternative and not be capitalized on and turned into a product by anybody else. So it wasn't anything that I profited from in regards to that patent. It was just designed to protect the community so that something that was great wasn't used as something that would cost the community a lot.
We pause there? Can we pause back there and go back there for just a second? Because we talk about methyl B12 a lot on the show, and we have a lot of viewers that we talk about the shots, right? And then we talked about the subcutaneous before, but this is just having it in the nasal spray. And so, can people get this now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to actually sell it for the first time this year, so they can go to the website and they can actually buy it. A while ago, I also invented a lollipop administration called Revitapop. That I've since haven't sold that for some time, but that was another way to get it in. The idea is that for some reason, administration to nerves gives you great uptake to the brain, we believe, because we know that because the brain activity changed faster than the blood could get to the brain from the nose. So it's about 15 seconds if you use the nasal passage to put vitamins into the blood. It takes about 15 seconds to get to the brain. What we demonstrated in this study was, and I say study, it wasn't like an IRB approved study, but in this case study, that if you spray, by the time we looked at the EEG, we were seeing normal activity. And that was overseen by a QEEG specialist in Burbank, a company called Qmetrics. So what we found and what we believe is our current hypothesis is that when you spray into a nerve, like what you have in the nose, an olfactory nerve is pretty instant to get to the brain for smell, for example. If you spray on that area, the nerve, we believe, uptakes to the brain almost instantaneously. If you do it through the mouth, it's believed that the GI tract either destroys it or it's taken up by your bacteria and funguses before it actually gets to the brain.
Okay. And you do have a phone number on the screen there. And so if people do have more questions about this, do you want them to actually call you on that number?
Yeah, they certainly can. That's my mobile. They'll reach me directly. Texting is probably the best thing to do because I'm usually doing something and I don't pick up. But if you text, I'll definitely get back.
But this young man, within a very short amount of time, reported that these symptoms, he felt better.
Yeah, stomach pain went away. There's a lot of little things that aren't on the screen that he had. He had eye tracking issues, jittering of the eyes. He had focus issues. He was yawning a lot, sighing a lot. All that's in the video. You can see it in the video, and then you can also see I had one camera on I had one camera on Mike, and then I had one camera on the doctor that was watching the scan, so you can sort of see side by side what happened, and it's pretty remarkable.
And then how long does this benefit last?
Right. So one of the studies that's in the medical literature, methylcobalamin is one of 5 types of B12. There's cyano, there's glutathione, there's adenylyl, hydroxy, and methyl. Methyl is the only neurologically active form that works for the brain, essentially. I found a study of adenylcobalamin nasal spray, and it showed a quote-unquote normalizing effect. So it's the only time I've seen that and looking through the medical literature where there was a vitamin that had a quote unquote normalizing effect, which means for a lot of people, if you spray, the more you spray, the less you need over time. And that's what we've seen for some people. But to answer your question, it's generally the half-life is 7 hours or something like that. It generally gets you through most of the day. Some people spray twice a day. Some people spray as needed, and some people spray just when they're feeling a little sick. So it really depends on the person. It's totally different. Not totally, but it's different for each person. And people should just spray as they feel, because that kind of tells them when they need it. For me, it was a big deal for me when I was doing the shots before I made the spray. If I missed taking a shot in the morning and drove a block, I would tell by the visual acuity challenge that I had to turn around and go back. So I knew that I needed it. And generally speaking, when you take a dose, you'll know within a minute if it's affecting you. Some people aren't real dialed into their own body, but you should feel something literally in the first minute. And that'll tell you if you needed it, you'll feel it. If you didn't, if you just spray and nothing happens, well, maybe you didn't need it.
And I want to be clear, because we've talked about methyl B12 a lot on the show. And you guys can go back and watch episodes because, and I'm no expert in this, but my son had the shots, and it helped him to be able to speak. And my understanding of it, and probably Stan, you have a much better understanding, is that you have a methylation cycle, which is how your body takes out the trash. That we all are exposed to chemicals and things and toxins on a regular basis that our body needs to get out. But sometimes that cycle is compromised and we don't have the ability to take out the trash. And by doing methylcobalamin, what I've been told is that it helps to open up that pathway so that your body can get rid of things that it doesn't need, the day-to-day toxins.
Yeah.
Am I completely out to lunch?
That's a good description. You methylate your endorphins, you methylate your neurotransmitters too. So if that pathway is off, there's a potential of a lot of things being off. You basically, life is through methylation in the body. So yeah, it affects so many different things.
Okay. All right. So I interrupted you. You want to go on to the next slide?
Yeah, sure. So the next slide, she was actually just here a little earlier, is of Karen. Karen's a 77-year-old. She came April 27th, and she had memory issues, fatigue, anxiety, and she had a fear of going out anymore. Basically, her best friend had moved to North Carolina, and she noticed that she had more anxiety about doing anything. And she had a family history of Alzheimer's on her mother's side, and she was afraid that she was falling into Alzheimer's because of her memory issues. So we took a drop of blood, and this is her blood under a microscope. And what you see are these, it looks like coins stacked. Her red blood cells are connected. They're attached to each other, which is not great. It's a sign of them not functioning extremely well. And the post slide after we worked on her that day kind of shows you what really, really good blood looks like. But she's 77. On the screen here, we see, I can't point, oh, maybe I can. That's right. I'm sharing. So in here, for example, this is her white blood cells. These are kind of dark. Typically, it should be the brightest thing on the screen. They're slightly blue, and some of them are black. And this means that her immune system in some way, in our view, like this one right here barely looks like it has any energy. The dark field microscope is actually looking at cellular energy as well. And it was just showing that her immune system wasn't tip-top shape. And the cells are showing that there's probably inefficiencies going on. Not probably, there are inefficiencies going on in her blood because all sides of the cell aren't touching the plasma, which is what you want. So this was when she got in. Same day we worked on her. Let's see. Hang on. Oh, this is like a few hours later. What we were seeing after we started working on her is now some of the cells on the screen, if you notice, have these little bumps on them. Mm-hmm. These bumps on a cell is a viral expression. So these are viral cells that we kicked up through the process. So this was essentially, we think, smoldering underneath. But when we start affecting the cells and giving them energy through the remedies we have, and also the hyperbaric chamber tends to kick up viral expression as well. And I think it's a good thing because a smoldering virus is not great. But if we can kick it up and we see it, I believe the immune system can see it, and then shortly after it can go away in a certain number of days. So this is about halfway through. If we back up and look at her blood from a high level, so this is a lower magnification, we can see that later that day her cells were pretty separate. So you're just seeing little circles all over the place, and then you're seeing these white patches on the bottom. What we've learned over time is these white patches, which I was originally trained in live blood analysis. These white are things that are anomalies, is what I was trained. It turns out that these are actually parasite patches. So we can see in her blood at a high level, she has 4 or 5 parasite patches, which isn't a large number, but it's nice to have, to see them so that you know that you can reduce that as well. But it's interesting, and it applies here because before the end of the day, this is what her blood looked like. This is the same magnification as that first slide, which is back here of all the coins being stacked. And I know the video is slightly delayed, but it's coming.
It's there.
So you've got stacked cells, and then you have here you have the non-stacked cells. So all you have is black and white circles. It's coming. Black and white circles. She felt great. She had lots of energy. It shows that there's a more efficient cell count. So the cell count actually goes down. So what some people talk about as zombie cells, I believe that's what we're looking at here. The cells that were inefficient just no longer exist. The brain just decides that those are going to finish out their life cycle. So these are the healthy cells that show up on the screen. I can't tell if you see it or not, because on my screen, it looks like your screen has something different on it.
We're seeing the after of
Okay,
the cells.
fantastic. All right, thank you. So she felt great. Her verbal ability improved, where she was finding words before she didn't. She was just conversationally flowing. And then the interesting thing and the best thing is at the end, before she was afraid to sort of go out at all, she booked her first flight to go travel, which is kind of her thing. So she's traveled 6 times since April 26th or 27th, the first time I saw her. Also on the screen here is a little white speck that's sort of by this red blood cell right here. And that also, and it's nice and bright. It's very interesting. The really, really bright things that are in live blood analysis that I've seen are parasites. And parasites have a stronger energy than just about anything else in the blood, which is interesting because where are they getting that energy from? Probably us. And this is a picture of Karen on a trip, essentially. So that's a 77-year-old woman with cleaner blood, essentially, and she's doing really well today. She comes by once in a while for tune-ups, but after traveling sometimes. But basically, she's doing amazing.
Good for her.
So this next case study is Kevin. Kevin came in because he wanted to talk about his son who was diagnosed with autism, and I generally just take the person in front of me and work on that person first. So we did just a blood drop, just a little blood drop is all we need. Put it under the microscope. And what we saw is not only were there stacked cells mixed in, but there's tons of clumpiness showing up. And it's so dense that it shows up as red. This is supposed to be a black and white image, but here it's showing up as red. And I see red a lot of times in folks that have cancer or have very, very serious health conditions. And he had prostate cancer and was treated with radiation and was quote unquote cured of prostate cancer. But I don't know, his blood doesn't necessarily show that. So when he saw that, and at the time it was some of the worst blood I had ever seen. It startled him, of course, and it usually startles people. And then we started working on him. And that same day, he came in from Canada. He was only in for 1 day. That same day, when he was done, his blood looked like this. And you can see in the bottom here, his white blood cell has blue in it. And we're seeing that when the energy is increased in the immune system, that these white blood cells turn not only white, but they get to another level, which is this blue state. So there's lots of open plasma. He still has stacked cells, but not terrible, and lots of open plasma. He felt amazing. And he says he can't remember ever feeling this good, basically. And he's texted me over and over again saying, I'm feeling great. And he can feel his body in a completely different way. It's like his whole experience of life changed. Now, this one, which applies to this show and this community, is a 16-year-old with autism. And his mom brought him in, and we took a look at his blood. And it was the most dense, clumpy, red blood that I've seen. This was worse than the man with former prostate cancer. He, from what we're told, he suffered a lot from dysregulation, which, I saw while he was here. He was constantly asking, when is this going to be done? When can I leave? Can I play on my video game? This type of thing. He was irritable. He described his body as being uncomfortable, and impatience was present. At home, if you went to his door, knocked on his door, he'd yell and just say, "Why are you bothering me?" Essentially is his normal routine. And his mom reports that the conversational focus that he had wasn't appropriate for social situations at times. So, or frequently actually, where you'd be talking and he'd bring up something that was completely out of context of the discussion. So that was the pre. And that same day, after doing some work on him, his blood was radically different. And the red was completely gone. The density was gone. And this is just hours later, essentially. Now, what you see in the top right-hand corner is we have a viral expression that came in, which is interesting. So probably a smoldering virus. We can imagine that there's a smoldering virus that's now coming out. And in a few days, that would end up resolving. And then since then, and one of the questions I constantly get is what happens? How sustainable is this? We never have seen anyone go back to their original blood result ever, so far, anyway. What we end up seeing often is it gets better with time, or sometimes it goes backwards a little bit. So it seems to sort of like, be a cleansing to the day, and then whatever you do afterwards shows up in the blood. whether it's an improvement or not, or whether it's stress and other things, we can see that. In fact, there was one time that we did one pre-blood and then just talked to the person about stressors and trauma, and then afterwards the post result was better in the blood. So what we're looking at is the idea of your blood is holding everything, all the data on your stress, all the data on your experience from who knows how long. So anyway, so he was more regulated. And it was interesting. His mom said, "There's no way my husband will come to anything like this because he's just not a believer in this type of thing. There's no way." She said literally, "It would be a miracle if he shows up." Well, they went home, and her husband saw his son, and immediately, or from what I'm described, I wasn't there, but immediately said, "What happened? Who is this person? I need to meet him." And then he ended up calling me that day and came the next day and got himself taken care of as well. And what he told me is that I'd knock on my son's door and he'd say, "Hey, Dad, what do you need?" Like it wasn't like it was before. It was a complete, like a very serious transformation. So this next case study is Dr. Redante. Dr. Redante is 7 years in practice. He's one of the leading chiropractic rehab specialists in the state, and he takes care of NBA players before they try out. The early NBA players, all the ones in the area go through him for evaluation and rehabilitation and training. So he's really he's a very special dude. Great heart too. And he came in to take a look at what we were doing with lasers, because my background is also in technology, and we've been developing lasers to do different things, non-invasive lasers. So it's nothing you even feel. But basically on his hand there, he's got 2 lasers on it. He had sprained his hand that week and picking up a dumbbell. And this is all on video. So the videos of each of these cases is also on the YouTube channel. So he put those lasers on his hand for just 5 minutes, and his pain level went from 5 out of 10 after he did all the things that he knew how to do, down to a 0 or a 1. And he basically said it was gone. And he had never seen anything like that. And I'd asked him about that, and you'll see that on the video. So that's Dr. Redante.
Let's pause for just a second to talk about, and I know like already we're running out of time, but tell them where to go for the video so that they can be seeing testimonials and see some of the things that you're talking about if they're interested.
Okay. So it's stansrecoveries.com, stansrecoveries.com. So it's plural, stansrecoveries.com, no apostrophe, to be able to see that. How much time do we have? Because I'll move ahead. We've
got another 10 minutes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to pass through a couple things really quick. This is a hyperbaric chamber that we created, and it is the largest soft chamber that I'm aware of in the country. So it's really big. And so people that are claustrophobic, it's very easy to go into. We haven't had somebody that couldn't basically go in. We had a recent person came in at 447 pounds and was able to easily get in the chamber and had a good time. It's computer controlled, and it's a little bit different than just pumps, basically.
Is the child sitting on the chamber, or is the child? Is the child? That's the chamber.
That child is sitting on the chamber.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's the chamber. It's just the child that happens to be sitting on the chamber while his sister and father were in the chamber, if I remember correctly. So, and you asked me about some of the tools we use, because like what is that? So we have a chamber. We use the spray. We've got custom supplements that we actually compound here. Everything is from scratch. Everything is from pharmacy grade ingredients. We have 9 custom lasers that we've made, quantum lasers that you saw, the one with Dr. Redante. We focus on a lot of the things we focused on back in the day in autism, which is bacterial, fungal, and viral issues, but also parasitic remedies as well, because the parasites, I'll show you in a bit, is a big, big deal. Much bigger than I was thinking in this past year. I found out a lot through this work. And then we have different detoxification modalities and measurement tools. Love to measure. We've got obviously the live blood analysis, but we're also doing QEEG studies now, or pre and post measurement for brainwave activity, which is super cool. So this is something that we discovered in July. And to the top left is under a microscope what a stem cell looks like. This is a V cell, which is a very small embryonic-like stem cell, which is what you would expect to get when you do those $15,000 treatments where you draw the blood, separate the red blood cells, take the plasma, and laser it. So what we did is we made a laser that was close to that frequency, but lower, so that we had a chance to get it through the skin, essentially. So we're able to laser and have it penetrate the skin and get into the plasma without taking out the plasma. So it's a very simple process of just essentially waving a laser over your skin. So what we found, we also did some stem cell work on my son. This is his blood. And to the left, you'll see his blood. And he didn't have these worm parasites. Post, you can see this is a worm parasite, and you can see it's the brightest thing on the screen. So it has tons of energy that's captured in it that it's getting from the body. To the right, if you look closely, you'll see those V cells attached to the parasite. So for some reason, and I've never seen this anywhere else, meaning that I've never seen anyone else publish on this. So this is pretty new. Parasites are attracting stem cells, or stem cells are attracted to parasites because the parasitic count, the stem cell count on parasites is off the charts compared to what we see in the plasma. So if they're any place, they're generally sitting on parasites. So not only are parasites important to manage based on the energy and what they end up doing for toxicity in the body, and they also seem to create viral issues around the stem cells. We see that a lot. In this case, we also found that it's sucking up your stem cell count, which you don't want, because stem cells are essentially cells that can turn into anything based on the body being injured in some way or needing to develop. So this is a close-up of a parasitic worm, and I'm focused on the surface, so the whole thing looks out of focus. But if you notice the dots all across that look like little pimples all across this parasite, or part of this parasite, are riddled with these red dots. Those are all stem cells. And generally speaking, on the screen, you would have maybe 3 or 4 stem cells in the plasma. We don't have any, but we have hundreds that are on the parasite itself. So it's a very interesting find. So here's an example of a different type of parasite. What happens is, it seems like as the parasites get close to cells, they impregnate the cells themselves with little baby parasites, or parasite eggs probably, that turn into these baby parasites and then burst into the plasma. The white areas that you end up seeing, the glowing areas that are inside the cells, and some of them will show up as little lines, those are parasitics. Generally, it looks like worms that are inside the cells to begin with, and obviously those cells are compromised and not able to do their job. When we see this, you can tell there's all sorts of sort of strange shaped cells, and this doesn't look like a healthy example. And then also the immune cells here. The immune cells don't seem to be able to do anything about parasites when they're inside the cells. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I've never seen an immune cell actively go after a parasite in the cell. They go after cells all the time, and they look like they're sprinkling them with fairy dust, which is them actively working on cells. I've seen them transform viruses, but I've not seen them do anything with parasites. It's very interesting. So this is a close-up of one of the parasite chunks that I was told is an anomaly and to ignore. And you can see all over it is these spotted V cells, which are the same thing that we see in the parasitic worms. There's another one close up. This one's, sort of dying. You can see the glow of it isn't as much, but you can also see the surrounding cells are all viral, which is very interesting. The rest of the blood, if you didn't have a parasite around it in this particular person, was showing up rather normal. Here, these cells look like they're in trouble, and a lot of them are very dark, which is when they don't have a lot of energy. So that's sort of this parasitic connection and parasitic connection to stem cells, and it also seems to be viruses. This is another example from a very high level of a pretty long parasitic worm, and you can see the peripheral blood is dense. The red blood cells is dense, and they're even glowing red, which is that bad sign that we've seen in cancer. So as we start working on them, this is an example of a worm that is dying off, and you can see there's maybe one V cell on this particular parasite. It looks like the V cells leave as soon as the parasite starts dying, which is interesting because we see increases in the parasitic in the plasma. We actually see increases as the parasites die off. This is one where we used frequencies. We used frequencies on this actually, this is me. This is my parasite. Or is it my son's? I think, no, this one's mine. So this is a parasite that I had, and these sort of ice parasites, as I call them, are very difficult to kill. Even doing typical anti-parasitics doesn't seem to do the trick, but we used frequencies on this, and then we sort of blew a hole in it, which is really interesting. And then it even shows as having its own blood. And there's some studies that show that the blood in the parasites are a different DNA than the humans. So this isn't like a synergistic relationship they seem to have. My conclusion to that would be that they have their own DNA, they're their own entities, and they are truly parasitic. And you can see that the cells around this parasite look really messy, but not when there is an instance of parasites. So here, as we start to, this is an example of us starting to remove parasites from the person, you can start to see dots all over the peripheral blood. This is a lot of stem cells that are showing up, and they're different sizes. So some of them seem to be sort of born in the process, and others seem to maybe been attached because they're larger and they've been around for a longer time. But newer V cells we see as being smaller dots, and the immune cells are now like glowing in this blue, and there's a lot of them on this slide. Usually there's a couple per page. Here we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's basically it if we're going to cover the basics. Just to talk a moment, and happy to answer questions, but to talk a moment about the healing center that we have here in Simi Valley. It's an acre property next to a lake. It's a very quiet location. So the people that come here, it's really a peaceful setting for them. We do have people that stay for weekends and stay for retreats and family and couples healing sessions that we end up doing. That's all here. And I don't want to say this in any arrogant way. It's not that, because people save themselves, and we're truly just trying to facilitate the body and families to be better. But we've saved families, we've saved relationships. Here, just because of the place and because of what they're getting, and clearer minds essentially relate to each other in a much easier way. So that's kind of what's here. And I guess the one thing that I can do while I have her, because I happen to have Heidi here. So Heidi, who I'll quickly introduce, is Heidi came to us with a stroke. Oops, I turned off the camera. I just want to take out the blur my background just so. Heidi came with a stroke. She had shoulder pain of an 8. She had hip pains of a 7 and of 10, and knee pain of an 8. And what we ended up doing with her to begin with is we used a simple laser on her. Actually, at the time, I didn't have that big one, but I had this little guy. So we used 2 of these lasers on her shoulders and her hips and her knee. And within how long did it feel better? How long did it take?
Right away.
Almost right away. So it took about 20 minutes altogether.
Stan, I gotta interrupt you for a second because we didn't have Heidi agree to be on camera, so I need for her to say that she agrees to be on camera and understands that we're live.
I agree.
Okay.
Good point. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, she happened to be here. I did prep her, but when she walked in, but I didn't let you know. I apologize for that.
That's okay. We just have to take care of business. So
good job.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So Heidi's shoulder pain went away, her hip pain went away, her knee pain went away, and has not come back except the knee, which she uses a lot. And from time to time, we've lasered the knee a couple times, but we've never had to work on the shoulders or the hips again. And then for the stroke, she used the hyperbaric chamber and some other things that we did. And you said how did you feel the first day? Do you remember?
At the end of the day, I was walking and talking where before I was just kind of a lump on the floor.
Yeah.
But it certainly changed my life.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Heidi.
Yeah, and what we ended up seeing in Heidi, one of the things that she said is she felt better than before the stroke in the chamber, but she also had some blindness on the right side of her vision, which has not resolved. But that's pretty much the thing that's left is just that. And
amazing.
We'll see what happens in general.
Well, and unfortunately, we're like out of time, so we got to wrap it up here. But I want to say, because I said it at the beginning, I want to be very clear that the things that Stan is doing, Stan's not a medical doctor. He's not claiming to be a medical doctor at all. And we're being very clear that the things that Stan is doing are not FDA approved. We need to make sure that we give that disclaimer, and that, I have not done this. And so we always do the disclaimer at the start of the show that we're not endorsing Stan or these treatments, but we wanted to share what Stan was talking about in case people want to further investigate on their own. And Stan and I had talked about all these things before. This is not a surprise to Stan. Stan and I had all those conversations. So Stan, if people want more information, tell them where they go. And you want them to watch those testimonials.
Yeah,
Video.
exactly. So there's, I'll just put some contact information on the screen as well. But first, I want to say, Shannon, happy birthday!
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me on and asking me to present. I wanted to thank Dr. Doreen and both your commitments to our community, because you're doing amazing and have done amazing for so long. I want to thank my wife, Michelle, who does so much behind the scenes, and I often don't thank her enough, certainly not publicly. So I want to make sure as part of my amends that I get that in, but she really deserves it. And thank you for my son, who just teaches me so much and motivates me. So
You're an amazing dad, Stan.
Our love for our kids, cause us to do things that we wouldn't do otherwise. So thank you to that. Yeah. And I want to also thank my mom, who, if she didn't pass when I was young, I wouldn't have wanted so badly to help people that couldn't be helped. Yeah. And so with that said, sorry, apologize, but I don't apologize.
You're a dad that's emotional about being a dad. Please don't apologize. And you loved your mom. It's all good.
Absolutely. So contact information, it's my cell number that's there. My email address is there. And to take a look at, I've published 55 recovery videos. 5 of them are from like 16 years ago of asthma, eczema, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. Because it's very interesting. A lot of the things that we do for the kids, what I did for Ethan, really work for so many different things. And they're very simple, a lot of them. So you can see a lot of those recovery videos at stansrecoveries.com. And that is that. Thank you so much again.
Stan, thank you so much for being with us. And thank you for being somebody in the community who's always looking for answers. We really appreciate you for sharing that with us. Thank you so much.
Really my privilege. Thank you for all your work.
My friend. Take care. All right, you guys. We are back tomorrow with Ask Dr. Doreen. And then on Wednesday, we're back with Let's Talk Movies with Moira and Shannon. Moira and I are going to take apart the Emmys. Everything that we saw, everything you guys didn't see, because, more and more of what they show on the Emmys, like everybody wants to see the one that happened on Saturday, the Saturday before, when they gave away all the arts and sciences Emmys. So we're going to talk about it all on Wednesday. But please get your All Ghouls Gala tickets. Go to Eventbrite and get those tickets, All Ghouls Gala. I also want to say, because I didn't get to before, I think I said hi to Nicholas, but hi to Queen's Panel with Latrice. So happy to have you here with us this morning. All right, you guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. See you next time.